Howdy folks, and welcome back to Cyberpunk 2077. So, in the last episode, we were hired by mayoral candidate Jefferson Perales and his wife Elizabeth to investigate the apparent accidental death of former Mayor Lucius Rhyne. During the course of the investigation, we met with NCPD Detective River Ward, who's going to be showing up quite a bit in future episodes, and we were able to determine that the Perales' suspicions were correct. The mayor was murdered. Night City Police Department did cover up the death on the orders of the mayor's deputy, and while there was circumstantial evidence that the mayor was murdered on the orders of his deputy, we were unable to actually prove it. Nevertheless, the Peraleses were sufficiently happy with the conduct of the investigation that a couple of days later they called us again with another little problem.
V, we're upstairs.
Thanks.
Now, I realise that Cyberpunk has received a fair amount of criticism, and justifiably so, for being something of a buggy, unfinished mess. However, that has not been my experience. Admittedly, I'm not trying to play it on a previous generation console, and I do have a fairly powerful PC. So my experience of the game has been almost completely problem-free and very enjoyable. And then I came to this side mission, where I ran into not one but two game-breaking bugs.
It's good to see you again.
Something happen?
Come on. Jeff will explain everything. He's just about done prepping for the debate. I've rescheduled all his meetings out of the office today. The office meaning here, so nobody will bother us.
We're talking about the cornerstone of my
Bother
platform.
us at doing what?
I'm not doing a U-turn just because Night Court.
You'll know in a minute.
No, I'm not sucking anyone's dick just so they can fuck me in the ass! Look, I gotta go. Make the amendments, we'll powwow later. V, glad you could make it.
Jefferson.
Grab a seat, please. I'll explain why I asked you to come over. We've had a break-in. Not the usual kind, though.
So unusual how?
A couple of days back, dead of night, something wakes me. A noise. I grab my pistol and come out of the bedroom. See a stranger. He looks like he's about to reach for it, so I pull the trigger.
Nail him?
No idea. My head started spinning and I passed out. No trace of him the morning after. I'd like you to find him. Find out what he wanted.
Notify the badges yet?
We don't want any buzz around this. No attention, whatever.
You know. NCPD's full of people who like the occasional stray eddy.
If we reported a break-in, the media descend on us like a swarm of locusts.
No badges. Gotcha.
Of course, we notified SSI about the incident. Our private security.
SSI is pretty small time. Why didn't you go with Arasaka or Militech?
It's what was recommended to us.
On the bright side, we're not dependent on any mega corporations.
Intruder, take anything? Break anything?
Nothing missing.
I haven't noticed any damage either. Jeff must have scared him off before he could do anything.
Said you passed out?
That's right. Just after I fired.
What then?
Nothing. I woke up in bed the next morning. Killer headache to boot.
Any idea how you made it back to your bed?
Nope. None. Elizabeth's at a loss too.
What did the intruder look like?
I can't remember much. It was dark. He was wearing some sort of mask. Or was it an implant? Couldn't really get a good look at him.
Elizabeth didn't see him either?
I slept through the whole thing. Election season takes its toll on you.
Security look into this? Say anything?
This is where things get a little weird.
They claim there's no sign of a break-in or of a shot being fired.
Security cams didn't record anything. Guard outside didn't see or hear anything.
They suggested Jeff must have had a bad dream.
Convenient answer.
Liz gave security the day off so I could call you in.
This security outfit, SSI. Who are they?
Been on the market the last 15 years. They have clients across the city. If memory serves, they came recommended. An acquaintance. You think SSI might be behind this?
That or someone hiding behind SSI. Anyone come to mind readily?
Could be the same people who were behind Mayor Ryan's murder.
Or Weldon Holt, Jeff's opponent in the race. The polls have him trailing Jeff.
But it could be anyone, really.
Jeff has many enemies, a lot of them powerful. We could sit here naming names all day.
I see.
That's why I called you, V. I need you to find out what the hell's going on.
Anything else you want to tell me? Or think maybe you should?
Nope, that about covered it. Liz?
It seems like everything. It's unlikely we'll learn anything anyway.
Honey, please. I'm sure V'll turn something up. So, you got all you need for now?
Wouldn't mind taking a look around the apartment.
Of course. Liz can give you the tour. Gotta run to a meeting. As soon as you learn anything, let me know.
Yeah, this is weird.
Come on. Let me show you around.
I mean, he looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. And if he is telling the truth, his wife is one hell of a heavy sleeper.
We shouldn't delay too long.
Rather poke around my own way. You mind?
No, of course not. I'll be right behind you, in case.
I mean, forget what you've seen on the TV and in movies. If somebody fires a large caliber handgun right outside your bedroom, you're going to hear it. So there are already a lot of things that aren't adding up here. So either she's lying and she's in on it, and or the security firm SSI are lying and in on it, or Jefferson did imagine the whole thing and everybody else is right. In which case we've got a bit of a problem because he's hallucinating intruders and he's running for the mayor of Night City. But even if we assume that he didn't imagine everything, that kind of is going to be a bit of a problem too, because security insists that there was never anything here. His wife insists that she didn't even hear the gunshot. And I don't see how that's possible unless both she and the security firm are working together to cover it up. The only other alternative is that everybody's telling the truth and somebody has managed to disappear an intruder and any physical evidence that there was ever an intruder here. And they did it while ensuring that Elizabeth never woke up when a gun was fired right outside her bedroom door, and a security firm with 15 years experience of providing security for the rich and famous were unable to find a single trace of any activity. And you may have noticed, as I've been scanning around the apartment, that there should be evidence, because there are lots and lots of surveillance cameras in this apartment. So either the security firm are lying, or somebody has expertly doctored and replaced the available security footage.
Fresh fruit. Tasty, by the looks of it.
They deliver it to us. It's included in the rent.
There's some weird chem stuff in here. Enhanced food?
It's smart food. It's enhanced for improved mental performance. I don't know if it really works, but people believe it. Other than that, it isn't half bad.
Fresh fruit for rotting vegetables.
Do you know what we could really use here? Physical evidence. Physical evidence would prove that something did actually happen. It would at least prove that Jefferson isn't going crazy. But the security firm says there is no physical evidence. So it was either cleaned up, or they're incompetent, or they're telling big fat lies.
This was my den before the campaign. A place to focus, relax.
Doesn't look it anymore.
Security had to set up somewhere. One of the many small sacrifices I've had to make. This was the first, but it won't be the last.
This is where I ran into one of the first, well, I'm not going to go so far as to call it a bug, but it's a horrible oversight on the part of the game developers, because this is where the security firm run all of the apartment's surveillance and security from. So it would seem like a logical place to start. From here I can access all of the surveillance cameras, and I can check for evidence through the surveillance cameras. I don't have to physically go and look in each room. There's also a security door here that I can open. I don't know where it is, but hey, I can open it, so why not? And here's the problem. Because this mission has been written in a specific way, where you're expected to do everything in a certain order. And the developers haven't really made many allowances for players not doing things in the exact order that the developers expect them to. I mean, I don't think I'm doing anything particularly outrageous here. I've found a surveillance station, so I'm using the surveillance station in the security station to check the security of the apartment and do surveillance of the various different rooms in the apartment. That's what it's for, and that's why I've been hired. But if you were to do this, and it seems like an entirely reasonable thing to do under the circumstances, you can run into problems.
Seems a happy fam. That your daughter?
Sachi. Oh, we miss her. Her studies took her abroad.
Huh, where to?
Europe. An excellent school. She'll get a good education. I know it's an ocean away, but with Jeff running for mayor, it's just safer this way.
Vote for Perales.
We're paying the staffers and for the campaign out of pocket. And we keep all the campaign stuff here. It's cheaper that way.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like the way to do it. This is what the cameras are for.
Tight bites. You and Jeff must be putting in serious overtime.
Elections. You don't even have time to think about food, so you just order whatever's quickest. But yes, it's true, Jeff hasn't eaten anything else recently.
But what you're apparently supposed to do is head to the scene of the break-in and then follow the trail of evidence from there. The problem with that is if that's what CDPR want you to do, nobody's actually told you yet exactly where the confrontation with the intruder took place. I'm only assuming it was outside the bedroom.
Bloodstains. Not quite scrubbed clean. Where's the blood from? It yours?
I'm 100% sure it's not ours. Maybe the intruders?
Probably.
There you go, physical evidence in the upstairs hallway. I'd like to see some bullet holes as well, since we're indoors and the bullet had to go somewhere. Presumably not all of them were embedded into the intruder.
Bullet holes. Cocked up. Someone tried to patch up the bullet holes. Assuming neither of you had anything to do with this.
No, of course not.
Note that the mission instructions are now telling me, up there in the top right corner of the screen, follow the blood trail. Not entirely sure how you're supposed to do that over a surveillance camera, but that is what you're supposed to do, which indicates that you're not supposed to be checking out the surveillance of the apartment using the surveillance system, which seems a little weird. Next, there are some highly incriminating messages just sitting around waiting to be read on an adjacent computer. First, this message from Chief of Security, explaining how the security teams are color-coded based on their level of access. Next, Target Alpha is secure, but Blue Team Member 66M is in critical condition.
It looks like SSI's employees knew about the break-in.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It looks like the guy that Jefferson surprised and shot was actually a member of his own household security team. A household security team that covered the whole thing up and then colluded to make Jeff think that he'd imagined it, and then left incriminating messages just lying around on a computer for anybody to read. I'm starting to question their competence. More bloodstains, or chemical residue from where bloodstains were cleaned up. So apparently this is the blood trail I'm supposed to be following. And what's this Sector Zero that the security team mentioned in their email that they couldn't grant remote access to on the night of the incident, but did supply a security code for?
Broken?
It was fine a couple days ago. We rarely use it, though.
Now, if you have a high enough technical skill, you can repair the smart glass wall and see what's on the other side of it. but you do require 10 points in the technical skill, and on this playthrough, on this character, I only had 5. Not that you actually need to, because the door's wide open. The door that we opened from the, security station down below. And what's going on in here?
Jesus Christ.
Think we're safe putting your security at the top of our list of suspects?
They violated our privacy. Sons of bitches! Under my own roof!
Wonder how long they've been keeping this from you.
Too long. This ends now. I am not letting any more of those freaks set foot! Ugh. My head.
Something wrong?
Don't worry about me.
Do what you have to do.
An entire secret security setup inside their apartment that they didn't know was there, and some of these messages are very disturbing. They talk about, well, stuff that we already knew had happened, like when Jefferson hired me, but also something called Operation Condon, which, whatever it is, doesn't appear to have been going 100% successfully. Target Alpha, which is Jefferson, has been acting erratically apparently, and they've recommended an increase in neural dampening. What the hell is going on here? Do you remember the fruit that we just casually noticed in the kitchen? It didn't seem like it was important, but the fruit was genetically modified to contain high amounts of chemicals tailored to promote and stimulate brain growth in order to enhance neural development. Smart food, as it were. Do you remember how they said that it was just included in the rent? It came with the apartment. So they're being fed a specific diet that's designed to tamper with their brains. They're being watched and monitored without their knowledge. And when Jefferson started skipping on the smart food and just eating junk, he had an episode that caused him to wake up and find something that he wasn't supposed to find. Speaking of somebody who's about to find something that they're not supposed to find, this is where I ran into the first of this mission's 2 game-breaking bugs. You see this really obvious thing on the roof that screams out, "Come and investigate me"? Don't!
Odd. Tech's practically prehistoric, but doesn't look older than a day.
Saw something like this back in the war. Transmitters. Militech was using them. Short-range UHF. Signal only travels line of sight, but it can't be intercepted.
Line of sight. Let's look around, see if we can't spot where our receiver's camping out.
Oh, too late. I investigated it. Well, that's me fucked. Now I cannot complete this mission. Seriously. I'm not kidding. This mission is now fatally bugged. If you want to complete it, you have to go back to an earlier save before you came up onto the roof and checked out that transmitter. I'm afraid I haven't done this in the precise sequence that the game developers want me to, so now I'm fucked.
Got a vision on our receiver. Black van parked next to it. Gotta be our winner. The hell is this all for, though?
Fuck if I know, but my gut tells me we should see what this bad boy's hooked up to. See these cables?
And here it is. Well, I know what this bad boy's hooked up to, because I've just checked it out. But you're supposed to check out the cables first, and then follow them to the transmitter.
Here. Gotta be another way inside. Sharp eye, Johnny.
You see how fucked up this is now? Now I'm reacting as if I've never seen this room. Oh yeah, the cables lead down here. Sharp eye, Johnny. I just came from here. What are you talking about?
Used meds. Intruder make a beeline here after Jeff tagged him?
Talking to yourself again?
More and more. Ever since this terrorist started stalking me.
What's supposed to happen is we're supposed to find this security room, scan the strange computer. It's actually telling us to do that right now. We're actually doing it backwards. First we found the transmitter on the roof, then we followed the cables back down to this computer.
Weird hardware. What's it for?
Connected to the wall-mounted screens. Wonder where else these cables run.
What do you mean you wonder where the cables... We just followed the cables back down from the roof.
Wonder if Elizabeth has ever seen the car.
So now that we've scanned the computer, which the game was expecting us to do first, it's telling us to follow the cables that lead up to the roof and the transmitter. But because we haven't done it in the order that the game wanted us to, it's given us all kinds of fucked up audio clues, as if we're coming across things for the first time when in fact we actually saw them a couple of minutes ago. And following the cables up to the roof results in a dead end, because we've already inspected the transmitter, and it won't let you do it twice. And if you don't complete them in the exact sequence that the developers want you to, it just hangs at this point. You cannot complete this mission.
There's a transmitter on the roof. Seems to be conveying a signal to a van out front. Know who it might be?
We never set up any transmitter, and I don't know a thing about any van, but my guess is it's SSI's.
Don't really see any other possibility. But we still don't know who they work for.
So what do we do with the transmitter?
Nothing just yet. Let me check the van first.
I'll wait here. Just don't tell Jeff anything for now, okay?
Sure, whatever. I'll call him once I know something more substantial.
That's fine. Just remember it's the busiest time for Jeff right now. You can always come and talk to me.
Fine, I'll keep that in mind.
So now that I've presented the evidence that I've found to Elizabeth, the mission's given me 2 further instructions. Leave the apartment to chase down the van that the transmitter was transmitted to, but it's also still telling me to follow those cables. So I dutifully followed the cables back up to the roof, and you can quite clearly see the check me out icon appearing on the transceiver, but you can also quite clearly see that it is definitely not triggering completion of this particular phase of the quest. You unfortunately only get 1 bite of that particular cherry. Well, okay, but it's telling us to do 2 things, not just follow the cables, but it's also telling us to leave the apartment to chase down the black van that the transmitter on the roof was transmitting to. So what happens if we try to do that in order to move the quest along? Well, it's got to be worth a try, so I gave it a try. Unfortunately, while the quest hint is saying, search for the surveillance van, the quest marker on the minimap is still pointing to the cables on the roof. So in the absence of any kind of hint as to the rough location of where I can find this surveillance van, I'm left with no option but to try to physically check the entirety of Night City. And Night City's a pretty fucking big place. So this isn't going to happen. So you have to reload a previous save, do everything in the precise and meticulous order that the developers expect you to, and don't try to do anything silly like using a surveillance system to do surveillance.
There's a transmitter on the roof. Seems to be conveying a signal to a van out front. Know who it might be?
We never set up any transmitter, and I don't know a thing about any van, but my guess is it's SSI's.
Don't really see any other possibility. But we still don't know who they work for.
So what do we do with the transmitter?
Nothing just yet. Let me check the van first.
I'll wait here. Just don't tell Jeff anything for now, okay?
Sure, whatever. I'll call him once I know something more substantial.
That's fine. Just remember it's the busiest time for Jeff right now. You can always come and talk to me.
Fine, I'll keep that in mind.
And now that we've spoken to Elizabeth when the game expects us to speak to Elizabeth, and not 1 second before, it finally allows us to leave the apartment and actually points us in the direction of the surveillance van. Unfortunately, after a brief chase, it's here where we run into the second, and honestly, probably the worst game-breaking bug in this mission. So, we followed the van to its location, and now the mission is telling us to connect to the van's access point. Unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of Maelstrom gang members here. So naturally I'm going to have to clear them out before I can get to the van. Now, this is my second playthrough. I'm on a female V, and I'm running a Netrunner build.
Jam-packed with hardware. My optics don't see any manufacturer info or detecting mods. They don't
Ear jacking. could be the security firm or government. Media scouting for dirt on the
According
paralysis.
to traditional Christian doctrine, you are going to burn in hell.
So naturally, I'm going to want to sit back well out of harm's way, because I don't like being shot at, and pick them all off with the Contagion quick hack. Shut down any security cameras, and make this fight as one-sided as I possibly can. At the moment, I haven't even gotten into combat, because those are the perks of the Netrunner build. It's very, very simple, particularly now that I'm level 37. So I've pretty much maxed out all of my Netrunner skills. And I don't think I'm doing anything particularly outrageous here. This is how you take out large groups of heavily armed enemies with the Netrunner build. Well, okay, but what if I hadn't been running a Netrunner build? Well, I don't think it's out of the question to suggest that most people in these circumstances would try to take out as many of the enemies as possible stealthily, because it just makes things easier, and also you're double dipping on skill points, because if, for example, you were taking people out with pistol headshots at long range, you're gaining pistol skill, and because you're not actually going into combat because nobody's seen you, you're also gaining stealth skill. So, yeah, I don't think I'm doing anything particularly outrageous or unorthodox here. I think it's probably safe to assume that most people would be attempting this mission this way. But watch what happens if you do. Connect to the van's access point. Okay, we'll jack in, and it's here where we find out what has actually been happening to the paralysis.
We're in.
Couldn't ask the NCPD for better records than this.
Pictures, medical records. Vulnerability to neuroplasticity. It's some kind of database. Brain scans, the paralysis biological casts, neuroplasticity.
Fuck. What about that? The blue shit.
Fresh neural links. They're not spying on them, Johnny. They're fucking with their heads.
Mean to say someone's literally controlling our upstanding politicians' minds?
Uh-huh. Red blots are memory residue in the hippocampus region. See how they're bleeding into the blue?
So what are we looking at?
They're planting new memories in their heads, modifying their personalities. This is big shit, Johnny.
Fuck me.
Got other guinea pigs besides the paralysis, too.
Quick, download the data. Whoever comes looking for it, that's your suspect.
Shit! They're wiping the data. We've been made. Now they know someone's been in their database.
Wonder if they also know who.
So, curiouser and curiouser.
Provocation.
Mission complete, yeah? Now we have to call Elizabeth. But it's also saying neutralize the attackers. What do you mean, attackers? I'm the attacker. Yeah. This is this particular mission's second, and in my opinion, much more serious game-breaking bug. You see, most games would reward you and give you a nice little pat on the back and say well done for successfully completing an objective like this without once being spotted, detected, or actually having yourself put into combat. But not this mission. Oh, no, 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 no. You see, I unfortunately had the temerity to try to complete this mission in a way that the game developers didn't want me to. I tried to complete it properly. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to rock up at the front gate, all guns blazing, and give the gang members time to call for backup. Because this whole neutralise the attackers thing is the backup that turns up at the gate once you initiate combat with the gang. But because I never initiated combat with the gang, and I took them all out from stealth, without once being detected, there is no backup. But the mission won't let me progress until I take care of the backup that isn't coming. Oh, for God's sake. So, once again, it's reload an earlier save, and this time do things the wrong way. Which, in the case of this particular mission, as far as the developer's concerned, is not only the right way, it's the only way. Yeah. A huge and varied range of character skills, attributes, abilities, and perks, they said. Customize your character to your heart's content and create a unique character build that allows you to play the game the way you want to play, they said. Apparently somebody didn't get that memo. And here it is. Only now that I have deliberately done this mission in the most ham-fisted, obviously way possible, do the backup arrive, and I actually have the option of completing this fucking thing and going home. There we go. Attackers neutralised. Now I can connect to the band's access point. And not a moment before, you naughty, naughty boy, trying to play this game your own way. Who do you think you are? To be completely fair, this is the only point during the course of my entire 4 separate playthroughs of this game where I've run into these kind of problems, and they're all in this mission. And my god, it sucks.
Right, so then what? Gonna want to sit down for this. It's way bigger than we thought.
What is?
You're being brainwashed. Literally. They've scanned your minds and now using some kind of conditioning to...
Wait, not on the Hollow.
Right. I'll come by.
No. You and we need to speak alone. I know a little ramen place in Japantown. Sending you the coordinates.
Right. See you there.
It's a real shame because if not for what feels like some seriously rushed programming, this could quite easily be up there with the best of the side missions in Cyberpunk. Unfortunately, it just doesn't fucking work. I find it really hard to believe that professional game developers like CD Projekt Red never even entertained the possibility that of the millions of people who were going to be playing Cyberpunk 2077, not every single one of them was going to attempt to unravel the mystery in the Peralez's apartment in any way other than the strict step-by-step method that the game developers imagined, or that later on, in the attack on the Maelstrom gang hideout and the surveillance van, that anybody might actually attempt to perform that mission in a way that actually made sense and that worked in every other mission in the game. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a games developer.
Will you sit? Please? Thank you for coming.
Cozy little joint. Doesn't really match your style, though.
But it's perfect for a one-on-one.
Here we are, then. What is it?
I'm sorry. My nerves are shot. I can't gather my thoughts.
Wasn't that long ago we last met. Something happened since then?
No, I mean, something did happen, though not recently. It's a long story. I don't quite know how to tell you. Where to even start?
Relax. No need to rush.
A while ago, I started noticing some changes in Jeff's behavior. His personality, he seemed to be changing right in front of me. Becoming someone else.
How so?
He stopped reading, forgot the title of his favorite movie. Even his musical taste changed overnight. Once, I said we should visit his brother's grave, and he told me that he'd been an only child. That's when I started thinking something bad was happening. Something insidious. And not just with Jeff.
Notice any changes in yourself?
After some time, on several occasions, my friends pointed out that I was acting strangely.
Oh, that must have been hard.
It was. You know, it's at times like those you start to question reality.
So the whole time you knew what I could end up finding?
I don't know who, how, or why, but they're changing us. That concealed room in our apartment,
What about it?
I'm sure I'd seen it before, but must have somehow forgotten. I find that terrifying.
Mentioned any of this to Jeff?
I tried. I did. But he's blinded to everything. He just laughed, said I was imagining things. He once brought up a vacation that we never went on. Swear to God. He went on about it in such detail, I almost started believing him.
Could be just you who forgot. Maybe they just wiped the trip from your memory.
Hell, I don't know anymore. Don't you get that?
Haven't told me the whole story yet, have you?
I saw a stranger in our apartment one night tinkering with the monitors. But I was in such a state by then that I didn't know if I could trust my own eyes.
So, you didn't do anything?
I don't remember what happened. I talked to security the next morning.
Find it strange you took this to security instead of your husband.
I thought I was going insane. I wanted to see what was on the feeds first. There was nothing there, of course, so what was I supposed to tell Jeff? And then, the next day, I got a call.
Who was it?
Them. Whoever they are. There was a garbled voice on the other end. He never introduced himself.
And? Cut some kind of deal with them?
No. I was told that our perfect lives could fall apart at any minute. That I have my husband's safety to think about. After, there was no record of the call. It was as if it had never happened. So I'm begging you, V. Jefferson can't find out about any of this. Ever. His life depends on it.
Oh, I'm not comfortable with the idea about lying to him. I mean, how's he supposed to make a competent decision if he's not in possession of the facts?
What if you're just saying what they programmed you to say? Just reading off a script based on thoughts planted in your head.
All I know is, I love my husband, and I want him to be safe, and happy.
Or that's what they want you to know.
You know what Jeff will do if you tell him? I know my husband. He'll start looking on his own. He can't find out about this. It'd destroy him.
Imagine what this must be like for her, knowing what she knows, or knowing what she thinks she knows. It must be anything but easy.
You think if I tell him everything that he'll go and pick a fight he can't win?
I don't just think, I know. One thing hasn't changed. Jeff's still a fighter.
And he'll go down swinging. So how do we play this?
I'm going to tell Jeff that SSI was spying for his rival, Holt. You just need to confirm what I say.
And if I'm not on board?
You have a choice. Just remember, any consequences will not be yours to deal with.
Truly prepared to fire SSI? After the threats? It'd be brave, but risky as all get out.
What they're doing to us is one thing, but when you found that concealed room, I can't accept strangers spying on us while we sleep. Not under my own roof.
What difference does it make where?
I'll take full responsibility for anything SSI goes on to do. I'm just asking you not to get Jefferson involved. I'll add a meeting in Reconciliation Park to Jeff's schedule. He'll be waiting. Since I can't know if I'll remember this conversation tomorrow, I'm counting on you not to forget what I asked of you.
I won't. But that's all I can promise.
Goodbye, V.
Whole thing's fucked up, huh? Wouldn't want to be in her pants. Speaking of, overlapping memories, changing personalities. Remind you of anything? But hey, at least we know what we're up against.
So, in my pants, what would you do?
Some real rat bastards behind this. Someone's gotta take him down.
Even by risking the Paralysis' lives?
Fuck knows what kind of shit a mayor controlled by puppet masters could pull. But yeah, you could end up putting their lives at risk. Or not. Tough choice, V.
Johnny raises a very good point. If we just let things go, which is what Elizabeth wants us to do, then Jefferson Perales, who is very likely to be the next mayor of Night City, is going to be controlled by, well, we don't know. Now, that would, I suppose, in the short term, definitely be safer for Jefferson, but I can't help but find it more than a little ironic that his wife, and I'm not really blaming her for this, because she's in a really tough spot too, but his wife wants us to deal with the situation of her husband being kept in the dark and manipulated by outside forces. She wants us to deal with that by keeping him in the dark and manipulating him with outside forces. So nah, fuck it, I'm telling him the truth. Not least of which because that's what he hired me to do, but also because how the fuck is the guy expected to make any kind of informed decision if he doesn't have the facts? What he chooses to do with those facts, whether or not he even believes the facts in the first place, whether or not he's even going to remember the facts as presented to him this time tomorrow, or if he's even capable of believing the facts in the first place, depending on whatever it is they've been doing to his mind, none of that is my problem. My job is to get him the facts. And that's what I'm going to do. So, the following day, full of, what in my mind at least are good intentions, I head to the meeting with Jefferson. And then this happens.
Yeah?
It doesn't matter what you tell him. It doesn't matter what you think of doing or do. You can't change anything.
What?
We know who you are. We know what you are. We know what you want. You are playing with fire. Don't dare cross the line.
Alright. So that wasn't freaky at all.
Fuck.
There's a lot of online speculation as to exactly who or what is behind this whole thing. It's one of those mysteries that never really goes fully answered, but the most popular speculation is that Jefferson Perales and his wife Elizabeth, but to a lesser degree, are being controlled by AIs from the old net on the far side of the Black Wall.
Hello, V.
What do you get when you take steaming macaroni and drown it in melted sin cheddar? Hallelujah, it's mac and cheese.
Need to talk.
Yes, I know. Elizabeth filled me in. Sounds like I was right to hire a professional.
Elizabeth, what did she tell you exactly?
Didn't get specific. Just that SSI was spying for that son of a bitch Holt. Guess you got more, though.
SSI wasn't working for Holt. You're in deeper shit than you think.
Meaning?
7 years.
Isn't it weird that you're a virtuous politician candidate?
From the tyranny of the NUSA.
Flattered, but no. Far from it. Do I try my best? What's this got to do with anything?
How many people can honestly say they don't strike deals with gangs or take eddies from corpse?
A lot, I'd like to think. They just haven't introduced themselves yet.
Almost like this city doesn't deserve somebody like you.
I'm not paying you to make up riddles for me, so get to the point.
SSI's on the take of some unknown group that's out to control your lives. Somebody's hijacked your life. Or set your course, your career.
I'll admit, there were a couple of fortunate coincidences, but...
They forged your views, personality, even that skepticism that pisses me off so much. Clearly, what they want is for you to be their mayor. Molding you like a clay figurine.
Fuck. I need to remember who recommended SSI to me.
Your memories, Can't even trust those anymore.
Have you taken your daily supplement? Remember, on no meeting, 5 hours of intense focus and productivity.
If that's true, I'll never know what's real in my life and what's a lie, fabricated. Wait, the intruder. I have to find him.
Trust me. You never will.
First, I'll find him. Then I'll find whoever's behind this. Pull the curtain back on these motherfuckers and show them what's what.
Could show their hand if you're patient. Wait long enough. Or use your mayoral powers if you get elected. Long as you don't forget all this by morning.
Sun Tzu's art of war. Feign weakness, so your enemy may grow arrogant.
Don't see you doing much feigning, Jeff.
My God. I have to tell Liz.
Your wife knows everything.
Liz? How?
Figured it out at some point?
Elizabeth? No. She would have said something.
She feared for your life. Your daughter's life. Who could blame her?
No, she's never kept anything from me. And she doesn't scare easily, believe me.
Got an anonymous holo telling her to keep her mouth shut. So she did what the perfect candidate's wife would do. Protected her family.
I won't let them get away with this.
So what now? Still want to be mayor?
Well, I'm not about to give up. I didn't run just to... I'll wait for my window. An opportunity. Then make my move.
Isn't that exactly what they want?
Well, I'll give them more than they bargained for. Yeah, same with your Eddies. Take care, V.
Good luck.
And good night.
So, thoughts?
Somehow I doubt it's people who are behind this.
So aliens?
Very funny. You're too young to remember this, but not so long ago, people talked about rogue AIs prowling cyberspace.
So, not aliens.
Doesn't matter who. What matters is that guy decided to take up the gauntlet. My man.
On the other hand, if you just lie to him, as his wife wanted you to, then he just carries on completely oblivious, none the wiser. Telling him the truth does have implications, but you don't see those implications until the game's end credits.
Hey, it's Peralez. V, you're gonna want to hear this. First, you need to go somewhere no one's listening. Okay, so my wife, Elizabeth, she's in on the whole thing. She keeps saying I should look after myself. Tells me to take these pills. Says they're vitamins. Got them analyzed at a lab. And they look okay. But how am I supposed to know if somebody didn't falsify the results? When you got a sec, call me, okay? Oh yeah, and don't forget to delete this message.
Oops. I guess. Yeah. Honestly, I still think I made the right call. If I just lied to him, he would have gone about his life none the wiser and continued to be manipulated by whatever shadowy forces were doing the manipulation. My job was to get him the facts, and I did my job. What he chooses to do with those facts, or whether he's even capable of handling them in the first place, and he quite clearly wasn't, that's not my problem. So what do you think? How would you have handled it? Would you have done anything differently? Assuming you could, of course, have completed this mission in the first place and gotten through the two horrendous game-breaking bugs included in this particular mission. Let me know what you think. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're all having a great day. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.